Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Landskrona, which is maybe about 20 minutes or so to the north of me here in Lund in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and we're going to return to one of the two local breweries there. So we're going back to Brekeriet, who are of course a specialist sour beer brewery, and we're having a taste of one of their lower beers today. So this one is actually a folksale. So we're going to have a taste of the Field Trip. This one is described as a session sour ale and it's brewed with passion fruit. So it should be quite nice, and they've got both lactobacillus and Brettanomyces yeast in this one, so it should be a really interesting beer. I picked this one up at the ICA just next to the train station after work one day in Landskrona, so you will be able to find this one pretty easily from what I gather, and it is quite cool to see some of the craft breweries getting into the folksale market as well. I really do quite like that. A lot of them have been there for a number of years of course, but in places, in the local ICAs and the Coops and things like that, you can sometimes find these little local craft brewed beers. This isn't one that will appear in Systembolaget, of course. I think this is one that's brewed exclusively for the supermarkets, but I've had some very good experiences with Brekeriet in the past, so I'm sure this will be another pretty good beer. So I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, link to my other reviews that I've done from Brekeriet before. There will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. So as I've told you before, Brekeriet were originally based in Djurslev, which was just outside of Malmö, but they're now based in Landskrona, which is kind of halfway between Malmö and Helsingborg in Skåne. So the company was founded back in 2011 by the Ek brothers. So this is Fredrik, Christian and Andre, and they're a specialist brewery in sour beers basically. They use lactobacillus for some and Brettanomyces for the other, and in this case they're using both actually. But these guys were the first brewery in Sweden to do this, and as far as I know they remain the only specialist or completely specialist sour beer brewery in the country. I mean, you've got the likes of Temple Brewhus, but they also brew a few stouts and things like that as well. And you also have Örebro Brewhus, who are brewing some Berliner Weisses and things like that. Dugas of course do some sour beers as well, which are quite nice. But these guys, as far as I know, the only thing that they actually put out is sour beer, which is pretty cool. So the only specialist sour beer brewery in Sweden at the moment. But the original brewery was based in the old brew house in Djurslev, which was actually a kind of commune brewery for the local farmers. But they brewed their first beers there back in 2012, and this brewery had a very modest capacity of only 500 litres per brew, and this was giving them a yearly capacity of around 38,000 litres. But as of 2015 they have a new production facility in Landskrona which can produce 20,000 hectolitres of beer per brew, or 20 hectolitres of beer per brew, my apologies. 20,000 hectolitres per brew would actually be an incredible capacity, but they now brew their beers almost exclusively in Landskrona from what I gather. They were at the start producing their Wild Bunch beers continuously in Landskrona, but they also brewed their Sour Patch beers for a while at the old brewery in Djurslev. I believe everything is in Landskrona these days though. But in 2014 the brewery caused a little bit of a stir as well, because they withdrew from Systembolaget in Sweden, which is the monopoly, the government monopoly on alcohol here, and they were citing the bureaucracy that was going on. Like Systembolaget, in some ways it works very well, in some ways it doesn't work so well, and these guys were apparently getting a particularly hard time from it though. But they returned to Systembolaget in 2016, and their beers have been in there since since that time actually. So I'm glad that they're back. Since they've come back, of course, they've changed their labels a little bit. They did have slightly different labels. If you go back to the first Brekeriet beer that I reviewed for you, the label on that one is quite different from the one that you'll see on this one. But yeah, a really nice brewery this one. I do enjoy the beers that they produce, and it's quite cool to see that they are doing some of the folk sales as well. I think I reviewed one folk sale that Richard gave me a wee while back. I forget the name of that now, but very, very good brewery, and one that you definitely want to check out. My favourite beers I've had from these guys so far probably were the Swedish Ninja, and I also really enjoyed the oh, I forget what it was called. I forget what it was called, but it was a Purple Rain. That was it. That's probably the best one that I've had so far. I really enjoyed those two, but all of their beers tend to be really pretty solid. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery. If you want to find out more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that as well. So yeah, really interesting brewery, this one. One that you want to check out. You can hear the dog upstairs going a little bit crazy. Someone must have just come in the house. But yeah, as you can see, this one very nicely presented. There you can see the Brekeriet beer there, Field Trip. It says on the front here, a fruity and refreshing sour session ale fermented with passion fruit, lactobacillus and Brettanomyces yeast. On the back here it says, Field Trip is part of our collection of beers known as the Specials, made in experimental batches in limited edition. Although, as I said, this is one that was appearing in the ICA, so maybe I have to keep an eye on the ICA and just see when they've got different things. There's the Brekeriet bottle cap on this one, and it says best before. Well, this one actually will last. This one was bottled in April of 2018, so it's a couple of months old, but it says best before the 18th of April 2023, so these beers apparently do have a 5-year shelf life. It might be interesting to buy another one and just see how it tastes 5 years down the line. I might look into that. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So yeah, nice smoky opening, and we'll get this guy out and into the glass. You can smell the passion fruits on this as soon as you open it up. So yeah, as you can see with this one, bright yellow golden colour there. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see it's pretty opaque. There's a little bit of transparency to it, but mainly it's quite opaque. There's a solid half finger of a frothy white head on this one, some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it does look really quite nice, and kind of as I was expecting for a sort of passion fruit sour beer. It does almost look just like an IPA or something like that. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this beer. Oh yeah, the passion fruits come out of that straight away at you. They really do. Yeah, a lot of passion fruity notes to this one. It's very kind of fresh and juicy as well, but you can really smell that sort of tart, lemony, sherbety kind of thing from the lactobacillus and the Brettanomyces. That really, it gives the passion fruits a really quite unusual aroma. It's almost like a passion fruit that's kind of gone off or something like that a little bit. It's almost like the passion fruit has started to, you know, smell sour because it's gone off or something. It's quite an interesting aroma, this, actually. Yeah, but there's a sort of, with this beer, you can pick up from the malt base, there's definitely a little bit of a sort of wheaty, white bready character to the beer. I want to say there's a little bit of a biscuity note as well, a little bit of a biscuity sweetness. Yeah, some sort of grassy and floral notes in there as well, which is nice. Maybe a little touch of earthiness as well. I can pick up just a little tiny bit of an earthiness in there. So just pay attention to that, but it does smell very, very fresh grapefruits, quite grassy and floral, and a little bit of a sort of wheaty, kind of white bready sort of thing going on with this one. It's definitely an interesting aroma, that. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. You'll always get some interesting aromas out of these Brekeriet beers. So yeah, this one, in terms of style, one thing I'm not sure about it is whether it's a Berliner Weiss or not. It was listed on Untappd as a Berliner Weiss, and I've seen it, and they're saying it's just a kind of sour ale though, but we'll see how we get on with this one. So yeah, this one is the Field Trip, passion fruit sour ale from Brekeriet in Landskrona, southern Sweden. This one, of course, is brewed with lactobacillus and Brettanomyces. So let's see how we get on then. Slange, skål. Yeah. That is quite nice, actually. It has got some elements of the Berliner Weiss, but I'm not sure if the malt base is quite strong enough to be a Berliner Weiss. It's interesting. But it's certainly a nice beer. This is a cracking summer beer, you know. As I said, this one was bottled up in April, according to the bottle. And this would be an absolutely beautiful beer to have in the summer. We're into August now when I'm filming this one, or the very start of September, sorry. But you can tell with this beer, this would be an absolutely cracking summer beer. So I do hope they bring it back next year, actually, because this is nice. Yeah, I like where this one's going. I mean, It's one of these beers, again, it's quite simple in its concept, I think, but it does what it wants to do really pretty well. So in the middle of your palate you can feel there's a nice little bit, that white, wheaty, bready quality, that just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that you start to get, you can feel the wheaty smoothness there, and it does get progressively more sweet as we go further and further into the flavour of this beer. I want to say there's a little touch of a biscuity sweetness right in the middle of the palate as well. There is something in there that's just a little bit sweet, that's not quite white bread or wheat actually. There is something else in the middle of the palate there that's just a little bit sweeter than that. But yeah, I like how this one kind of comes across. It's really interesting. The hops in this one, I would say, are quite smooth. I do wonder if the hoppy side of this beer is just like a noble hop or something like that. If it is meant to be a Berliner Weiss, I would suspect that. But the flavours that I'm kind of getting out of this one does make me think, you know, maybe there's a little bit of like Pearl or Hallertau or Tettnanger or something like that in there. If you go to the back corners of the palate, it's got a little bit of that sort of almost sweet, distinctive earthiness there. I always found the earthiness of the German noble hops and the Sats from Czech as well. They've always just got this little bit of earthy sweetness there, and as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you can pick up that there's a little bit of a floral note to the beer, and then round the very front curve of the palate, you've got that nice, lighter, kind of grassy note. For me, the flavours on the hoppy side of this beer, I'm pretty sure those are noble hop qualities that are coming out of this one. But it comes across very, very nicely, and of course the passion fruit to this one is interesting because when you add fruit to the beer, I've said this in numerous videos, the fruit always comes out of the beer on the edge of your palate, so it takes away a little bit of the bitterness of the beer. You can feel the juicy fruity qualities in this one. If you go round the front curve of your tongue, that passion fruity flavour is just kind of sitting in there, and it sort of spreads back to that little oily bubble as well, where you'd normally get the fruity esters that are extracted from the hops. You can feel the passion fruit there just kind of sitting on the front of your tongue too, which is really nice. But the passion fruity flavours for me are coming out mainly on the edge of the palate. But it's a nice beer, this one. This is a cracking summer beer, and that's one of the things definitely to say about this one. So I do hope they do this again next year. And it's interesting too because the sour parts of the beer, the Brettanomyces and the lactobacillus, that almost tart, lemony sort of quality that you get out of the beer, that's kind of, if you just go inside the front curve of your palate and just stand a little bit behind it, you can really get the sharpness kind of coming out of the beer a little bit there as well, which is nice. And it's interesting because you've got that juicy passion fruit, and then just behind it you get that kind of sharper, lemony sort of tart citric thing. But overall, this is a nice beer. It's a really easy drinker, but 3.5%, it's a folk so, like I said. The rule in Sweden is, if you're watching from outside, that anything that's over 3.5% cannot be sold in the supermarkets, but you can sell anything that's 3.5% or less in the supermarkets as a folksale, a people's beer, I guess you could translate it as, but basically, you know, a low alcohol kind of beer. But this one for me is really nice, and it's quite cool that Brekeriet can do beers like this that are as low in alcohol content as that, but they're as full of flavour. I mean, I have had some of the heavier things from Brekeriet as well. I think the heaviest beer I've had from them has been around 8%. But to be honest, this one, you know, has a hell of a lot of flavour in it for a 3.5%. So that's another big kind of plus point about this beer. I think there is a bit of a gap in the market there in terms of craft beer for brewing low alcohol things with the same amount of flavour as you'll get from the high alcohol ones. But Brekeriet are one of the breweries I think that really do it quite well. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then, you know, it's a light-bodied beer. This very easy to drink. Carbonation's got a little bit of a prickle to it, but that's nice. It makes it a little bit more drinkable. The mouthfeel overall, I think, is quite wet. It's got everything you would want. There's a little bit of sweetness from the malts, like I was saying. The hops in this one, for me, are quite smooth. There's not a lot of IBUs in this one. I would say, you know, I'd be guessing somewhere around 20 at most. It's a very low IBU beer, this one. Nice bit of juicy fruitiness from the passion fruits as well. You get a little bit from the hops, a little bit of that kind of almost lemongrassy thing. The hops are very smooth. Like I said, I suspect it's noble hops in this, and you've got a little bit of that tartness from the wild yeasts in this one as well, the lactobacillus and Brettanomyces. But overall, a really, really nice beer, and I'm glad that I was able to review this one for you. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. It's a really nice, easy drinking beer, that. So have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. Like I said, this one I think is available in a lot of the ICA stores around Skåne in Sweden. So have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. If you miss your Systembolaget, of course, you can always go in there and get some of these lower Brekeriet beers, and they will, they do have a good amount of flavour in them. So don't worry about that. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Field Trip, a passion fruit sour ale. I'm not sure if you can class this one as a Berliner Weiss. Actually, that's another point. It does have some of the elements of the Berliner Weiss. I'm not sure if technically it is brewed in the same way as a Berliner Weiss, but it has a lot of the same flavour components. I'm reluctant to put it into a style, to be honest. I'm not sure whether it's best to say this one is a fruity sour beer or if it is a Berliner Weiss, but the main point for me is that it's a lovely beer, so have a go at it for yourself. But yeah, let's leave it at that. So this one was the Field Trip, a passion fruit sour ale from Brekeriet in Landskrona in the south of Sweden. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brekeriet as well. I'm sure I'll return to these guys in the fairly near future, but I hope you're enjoying the reviews, and I will see you again shortly. The Field Trip from Brekeriet in Landskrona, Skåne, southern Sweden. Skål!